Hello, my friends. This is Hour 3. I'm Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Now, before we get to some of your great calls, I see they're great up there. I want you to listen carefully. This is what I mean about these lying politicians, and why in the world would you want to grant them more authority over your life? This is Barney Frank, June 27, 2005, on the House floor. We got this hat tip to Vernum Serum, or Serum.com. And we will link to this and everything else I talk about on MarkLevinShow.com. And while I'm at it, it's a nice weekend to go to MarkLevinShow.com. Unlike most of the other sites, it's free. No platinum, gold, silver, whatever the hell. Free. Free at last! Anyway, listen carefully to this, because I want to contrast it with another clip right after it. Barney Frank, June 27, 05, on the House floor. Cut 4, go.
But those who argue that housing prices are now at the point of a bubble seem to me to be missing a very important point. Unlike previous examples we have had, where substantial excessive inflation of prices later caused some problems, we are talking here about an entity, home ownership, homes, where there is not the degree of leverage that we have seen elsewhere. This is not the dot-com situation. We have problems with people having invested in business plans for which there was no reality, and people building fiber optic cable for which there was no need. Homes that are occupied may see an ebb and flow in the price at a certain percentage level, but you're not going to see the collapse that you see when people talk about a bubble. And so those of us on our committee in particular will continue to push for home ownership.
Got that? By the way, doesn't he sound like he really knows what he's talking about? Don't all these leftists always sound like they really know what they're talking about? That's the problem. They're full of crap. They're lawyers. They're debaters. They're full of crap who do nothing. And yet, so convincing. Now, here's Barney Frank yesterday on PBS with Tavis Smiley, who, by the way, never smiles. Tavis Smiley actually was Monday. Listen to this. Cut 5, go.
One of the causes of the terrible crisis we had over the last few years, which has given us today's problem, it came from people being pushed into buying houses, taking out loans that they couldn't afford. Part of that was a conservative view that rental housing was a bad thing. I had been trying with a lot of others to try and continue programs to build decent rental housing for people. What we had were people in power who didn't like that, and they said, no, we'll help them become homeowners. Well, people were pushing home ownership who shouldn't have been there. So what I did today, because we have now in Barack Obama a president who understands this, that if you are low income in America, if you're poor, you probably are not going to be able to afford a home.
You believe this? I just played you a clip from 3.5 years ago, a little more, where the guy on the House floor is pushing for home ownership and is going to continue to push for home ownership, he says. Then a little more than 3.5 years later, on this Tavis Smiley show, he says it was the conservatives pushing, and he was pushing for rental housing. Flat out liar, this jerk. This despicable political hack. Flat out liar.